everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
So the rate of increase of the population on this webinar is very slow, which is very good.
Morning, children.
The fact that it is World Population Day, but maybe it's not very good that people should be coming in.
Sir, should we start or we should wait till 35?
Okay. So which means that we have got 3 minutes to go. Fine. It's 23. Wonderful.
इसे join कर लो.
Wow.
Join कर लो.
We have got eminent speakers here today and eminent hosts. Wonderful.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome.
I think people have got up late today. People are just joining in. Can I suggest that you keep the chat open to the host only? To whoever is hosting this meeting? We might be able to send in some questions if needed.
But since I'm not the host, I cannot change those settings. I mean,
Sorry?
like not the original host.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry?
Since I'm not the original host, I cannot change those settings.
Okay. So whoever is the original host can change the chat.
It's the school administration department, sir. Is the original.
School administration department. Okay.
Like the technical.
That person is not. Rohit, would you know who is the host of this meeting?
Yes, sir, it's me, and I just tried to change the setting, but it's not happening right now.
Right?
So we'll enable the chat later.
Yeah, it's 35, by the way, 36 now. So I think we should begin.
Yeah.
So, speak in such a way that others want to listen to you and listen in such a way that others want to speak to you. Once again, Speak in such a way that others want to listen to you, and listen in such a way that others want to speak to you. With this, I, Gurit Kaur Anand, from class 12th Humanities, here before you all, wishing you a very happy World Population Day. It's a moment of extreme pleasure to welcome respected Principal Sir, Director Ma'am, Tomar Sir, and to everyone. Today, the 11th of July of every year is celebrated as World Population Day. I am extremely delighted to be the host for the morning and address you all. On behalf of my team, I thank each and every one of you gathered today for this webinar. The schedule for the webinar will focus on the topic population. It will include more issues to address on the full aspect of the topic. I wish this webinar enlighten us all and provide us with the approaches to deal with the coming future problems. So without any further delay, I would like to start with the event. Now, I request Principal Sir to please address the gathering and cast the light of his knowledge upon us. Sir, over to you.
Yes. Well, it's not a speech. Can you all hear me, please? You can do a thumbs up so that I know that all of you can hear me. Okay. Okay. Abhinav saying yes, and many others. Okay, great. So it must be reaching out to you. My voice must be reaching out to you. I kind of, it's not a speech definitely, but it's an observation. An observation, it's about bringing about a change in the way we look at population today. And my views are completely personal. Okay. Now, it was the year 1921 when Indian subcontinent witnessed an exponential population, and since then it has been rising up, 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 and up. And we are almost the first country in the, I mean, like the country with the highest population in the world today. Okay. Now, while I was going through various websites, one thing struck me. The countries which are highly developed, the rate of change of population in those countries is 0.3%. And can you guess what is the rate of change of population in the least developed countries in the world? You know? And that rate of change of population in the least developed countries of the world is 2.3%. I request people to mute themselves. Yeah. So there's obviously a correlation which I figured out, which I feel is that there is a strong correlation between the countries which are poor and population growth, right? And my observation therefore is that whoever is present in this meeting is not probably affected by population growth or its ill effects. Okay, which brings us to the point is that if you're talking about the population day, the problems that it has actually resulted into, or why we need to control population, should reach out to the people to whom where it actually matters, right? There has been lots of myths about having children, or it's actually something which is very natural and so on and so forth. But then, if we have developed technologically to be able to control birth, then it should be done responsibly, keeping in mind the future of this population which exists on this world today. Right? So my point is very clear that we need to spread out. We need to reach out to the people, to those parts of the population, those people amongst the people in this country and in the world, to whom we need to understand that, look, it doesn't help to have more children, right? The second observation that I would like to make is that, and today, in fact, Uttar Pradesh has published a draft population policy where they have said, in fact, that was a change in the way we were looking at the population policies. They said that, look, if you have more than 2 children, there will be disincentives. Means that if you have got more than 2 children, then you will not be promoted in the government job, or you may not get any benefit out of whatever benefits that you were getting so far. Your ration card will be limited to only 4 people, and so on and so forth. That was the policy so far. Now today they have announced that there will be a policy for those people who actually have only 2 children, where they will be incentivized. They will win some kind of a reward if you actually have only 2 children. So the states of India today probably is coming up with some more thoughtful ways of controlling the population. But at the same time, I do not agree with the kind of statement that was made that population is a problem. Population is not a problem. The fact that we do not think about the future of this population growth is the problem, because population will always be the way it is, the way we want, the way it will grow. I mean, you know the algorithms of it, right? You know the rate of change of population. So you know that by 2025, by 2030, what will be the population? The population itself is not a problem. But the fact we are not dealing with it is the problem. In fact, the fact that the people are not putting their thoughts into family planning is the problem. The fact that they're not really educating the people who need to be educated is the problem. Okay, so I think there will be lots of things to be shared in today's meeting, and it's very important that that all of you generate this kind of a discussion, not just for this day, but let this conversation carry on. Okay, it is not a marking of this day and it's over, and that's how it usually is. So I think this technology of meeting online, the technology of reaching out to more people, because most people, in fact, in the country today, in fact, almost 35% of the mobile users have smartphones. So which means that all those users can be reached out to with a message around the World Population Day, right? Also, last point, in the world today, 64% of the population is between the age group of 15 to 64. Okay, you can imagine that between 15 to 64 is also the population which is a working population, is also the population which should be earning enough to provide a good living to everybody around them. It is also the population which can bring about a lot of change in the world today, right? And therefore, this meeting gains that kind of importance, that this is not just about meeting here, but reaching out to those 64% of the population which can actually bring about a change, right? So we're talking about change, we're talking about making a difference, and we're talking about reaching out to the people who actually need this kind of education, right? Thank you very much, and Gurpreet, I'm excited to be part of this group, and I hope to hear from all of you. But unfortunately, I have something to do at 10 o'clock, so I'll leave at 10 o'clock. But till time, there will be enough thought-provoking conversations happening. Thank you, Gurpreet. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words. Good morning, everyone. I'm Aditya Singh of class 12A, and I'm here before you to introduce everyone who has gathered here to our speakers of the day. We have Karan Yadav of class 12A, Sanya Agarwal of class 11A, Shreya Devedi of class 12A, Alind Kesarwani of class 11A, last but not the least, Sanskriti Bhatia of class 12A.
So let's begin. Sure, you might know that there are more than 7 billion people on this earth right now. But how? How often do you stop and think about what that really means? It took hundreds and thousands of years for the world population to grow to 1 billion. And then, in another just 200 years or so, it grew sevenfold. World population was estimated at around 2.6 billion people in 1950. It reached 5 billion people in 1987 and 6 billion in 1999. In October 2011, the global population was estimated to be 7 billion. The world's population is expected to increase by 2 billion people in next 30 years, from 7 billion currently to 9.7 billion people in 2050, and even could reach the peak by 11 billion people.
The dramatic growth has been driven largely by increasing numbers of people surviving at reproductive age and has been accompanied by major changes in fertility rate, increasing urbanization, and accelerating migration. These trends have far-reaching implications for our tomorrow's generation. In addition, the world is also seeing high level of urbanization and accelerating migration. 2007 was the first year in which more people lived in urban areas than in rural areas. And by 2050, about 66% of the world population will be living in cities. These mega trends have far-reaching implications, but also affects economic development, employment, income distribution, poverty, and social protection. They also affect effort to ensure universal access to healthcare, education, housing, sanitation, water, and energy.
Moreover, the issue of population is also causing a strain on society. Terrible crimes are happening. Moreover, the issue of population is also causing strain on society. Terrible crimes are happening more than ever in the areas of gender inequality and human rights, and especially in the developing countries. Leadership is only doing a subpar job by taking care of its citizens. But as more and more people come into this world, violations such as human trafficking and child labor are increasingly becoming popular.
So today, the 11th of July 2021, celebrated as the World Population Day every year, which was established by Governing Council of United Nations Development Program in 1989, which seek to raise awareness for global population issue. And in the same way, we are here to aware everyone what are the causes of rapid population and the consequences.
And every single person here present today knows why overpopulation has a bad influence. But we are only looking at a smaller picture, such as our locality or somewhat in admission seats or less job opportunities. But we, the students of NH Girl World School, are here to put light on a bigger picture today.
Today, our speakers will try our level best to aware everyone why it is necessary to take major step at this very beginning. Because to prevent something in the future, steps to be taken in the present today. And in the same time, we should not blame our past generation, rather learn from their mistakes.
So, without wasting any time, let's begin the event. And I would like to call upon our first speaker of the day.
In the previous 50 years or somewhere in the vicinity, the development of population has blasted and has transformed into overpopulation. Throughout the entire existence of a species, the birth and passing rates have consistently had the option to adjust one another and keep a population development rate that is practical. Since the hour of the bubonic plague during the 1400s, the development of the population has been on a steady increment. Between the hour of the plague and the 21st century, there have been hundreds and thousands of wars, regular disasters, and man-made dangers. Notwithstanding, none of these could make a scratch in the population. Agricultural countries deal with the issue of overpopulation more than created nations. However, it influences the greater part of the earth as of now. At the point when we are discussing overpopulation, we should initially attempt to comprehend the hidden reasons for it. Reasons for overpopulation are diverse for some nations, yet are generally connected with poverty, reduced mortality rates, poor medical access, poor contraceptive use, as well as immigration. With overpopulation comes a decline in assets and an increment in manifestations in sickness and illness. There are various variables that add to overpopulation. Poverty is accepted to be the main source of overpopulation. An absence of instructive assets combined with high passing rates prompting higher rates of birth bring about ruined regions seeing enormous blasts in population. The impact is brought to such an extent that the UN has anticipated that the 48 least fortunate nations on the planet are additionally prone to be the greatest supporter of population development. Their evaluations express that joint population of these nations is probably going to inflatable to 1.7 billion out of 2050 from 850 million out of 2010. Though the availability of contraceptives is widespread in developed countries, poor planning on both partners' parts can lead to unexpected pregnancies. Statistics have shown that in Great Britain, 76% of women aged between 16 and 49 used at least one form of contraceptive, leaving a quarter open to unexpected pregnancies. This issue is exacerbated in underdeveloped areas. A study by the World Health Organization shows that this usage figure drops to 43% in countries that are blighted by issues like poverty, which leads to higher birth rates. As distressing as it may be to hear, child labor is still used extensively in many parts of the world. UNICEF estimates that approximately 150 million children are currently working primarily in countries that have few child labor laws. This can result in children being seen as a source of income by impoverished families. Furthermore, children who begin to work too young also lose the educational opportunities they should be granted, particularly when it comes to birth control. Improvement in medical technology has led to lower mortality rates for many serious diseases. Particularly dangerous viruses and ailments such as polio, smallpox, and measles have been practically eradicated by such advances. While this is positive news in many ways, it also means that people are living longer than ever before. This delay in the cycle of life and death has led to birth rates outstripping death rates by over 2 to 1 in modern times. Though it plays a minor role in comparison to other causes of overpopulation, improved fertility treatments have made it possible for more people to have children. The number of women using various fertility treatments has been on the rise since their inception. Now, most have the option of conceiving children, even if they may not have been able to do so without such treatments. Unchecked immigration into countries may lead to overpopulation to the point where those countries no longer have the required resources for the population. This is particularly problematic in countries where immigration numbers far exceed immigration numbers.
Well, you just now heard about the causes, but you know every problem has its own solutions. First, a major step to be taken by the all nation in the world is empower women. Empower women in some countries are not likely taken, where the women are not getting their rights, etc. Even study shows that the women with the access to health service find it easier to break out of poverty, while those who work are more likely to use birth control. The United Nations Population Fund aims to tackle both issues at once, running micro edits project to turn young women into advocates for their health matter. Second, promote family planning. Simply educating men and women about the contraceptions can have a big impact. When Iran introduced his national family planning in 1989, its fertility rate fell from 5.6 birth per woman to 2.6 in a decade. A similar effort in the country Rwanda in the Africa saw a threefold increase in the contraception usage in just 5 years. Third, make education entertaining. We know that the USA, United States of America, has the best education system in the world. US-based population media centers gets creative to reach women's ratio soap opera, which features culturally specific stories about health issues have been heard by as 500 million people in 50 countries. In Ethiopia, 63% of women seeking this health service reported turning in. Fourth, one-child legislation. During China's high controversial one-child policy, fertility fell from 6 births per woman in 1960 to 1.5 in 2040. However, it is said that the policy led to forced abortion and sterilization. It also disputed the traditional support structure for the elderly and led to a gender imbalance. Fifth is the government can give the government of any country can give facilities like taxes, break to education project to raise awareness about the cost of being big families. For me, I personally think that the strategy to stop the population growth in the world is that the child survival might be the key as it but cannot remain the only action. We need education on family planning at the same time, techniques for birth control and enhancement in health and hygiene. We need to ensure a sustainable social and ecological development, equal opportunities, and increase of access to education.
Since we're talking about population, we would hurt China if we do not talk about China's one-child policy. I swear to God, we do not want another virus at this moment. Well, jokes apart, China's one-child policy was a population planning policy that was introduced in 1979. It subjected about one-third of the country's population to having only one child. If the policy was violated, the fines could be imposed on families. The Chinese government claims that this policy prevented more than 400 million births.
Now we have recently heard about the brief. There are some disadvantages and advantages of the China's one-child policy. Let's first discuss about disadvantages. Well, first it created a mandatory contraception and sterilization policy. Well, second is the policy created disparity in the gender ratio at birth in China, though the gender ratio of newborn infants in China reached 117 to 100 for boys versus girls born, which was about to 10%, which was about the 10% higher than the global baseline, according to UN. It rose from 108 ratio 100 in 1989, which has a boundary of the natural baseline. Third, it caused many parents to give up their children for adoption them. When parents had an unauthorized second birth or wanted a second son but had a daughter, then giving up the goal for adoption in any someone like in China's government. Well, this policy caused couples to seek fertility counseling when none was needed and family had little or no support left to them after death.
Though the one-child policy was a total failure, it sure did have some benefits. The most amazing and shocking part of this policy was that it was supported within the country. 76% of population in China supported the one-child policy. I guess you all are thinking the same too. What about multiple births? Well, don't worry, because they were exempted. If families had twins or triplets, then the one-child policy was not enforced for that pregnancy. As you all know, that to bring out a policy and make people follow them, that means giving them something in return. As a matter of fact, China did that too. To encourage compliance with the one-child policy, the Chinese government provided families with a certificate that rewarded them. Education subsidies, housing improvements, a longer leave period from the job, and interest-free loans were just some of the economic benefits that were awarded to families that complied with the policy. Another good thing that this policy gave to people was increased job opportunities and wages. With a generation of mostly only children entering the workforce, there would be more job opportunities and the chance for higher wages when compared to societies that did not have a child policy in place. This could have helped to reduce the levels of extreme poverty that China experienced after World War II and lessen the food shortages that the country was experiencing. For me, the most important and the best part of this policy was that the policy changes the place of women in Chinese society. Because families were restricted to one child, it changed the traditional role of girls and women in Chinese society. Families who invest into their children, allowing girls to go to school, receive vocational supports, and additional training opportunities that may not have been allowed or encouraged in the past. This has allowed the quality of life for the average women in China to increase dramatically over the past generation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to the second speakers of the day, that is Shreya and Amar.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. This is Shreya Divedi, and I am going to be talking about population explosion and overpopulation in India and what causes it. Now, since this is a discussion about overpopulation, let's first really get to know what overpopulation is all about, shall we? What is population explosion? It indicates to the accelerated rise in the population of an area among human beings. Moreover, it's a situation wherein the economy is incapable of coping up with the growing demand of its current population. What is overpopulation? Overpopulation is when there are too many people for the environment to sustain with food, drinkable water, breathable air, etc. Scientists suggest that the overall human impact due to overpopulation on the environment is causing overconsumption, excessive pollution, proliferation of technology, and has pushed the planet into a new geological epoch known as the Anthropocene. You might be wondering, what is epoch and what about the Anthropocene? Well, an epoch is an extended period of time, usually characterized by a distinctive development or by a memorable series of events. The Anthropocene is the period of time during which human activities have had an environmental impact on the Earth, regarded as constituting a distinct geological age. Most scientists agree that humans have had a hand in warming Earth's climate since the Industrial Revolution. The Anthropocene, in its simplest, is sometimes used to describe the time during which humans have had a substantial impact on our planet. Whether or not we are in a new geological age, we are part of a complex global system, and the evidence on our impact on it has become very clear. Population has exploded. There's no argument over this fact. It took millions of years for the world population to reach 1 billion in 1880. It doubled within just 100 years and soon hit the 6 billion mark. A debate on population is inevitable in a country that would surpass China's, currently the most populous country. Of late, politicians have been vocal in pushing the population control debate. It has erupted in a paroxysm of deep fear of demographic disaster and complete exhaustion of natural resources due to overconsumption. At this age of the sixth mass extinction and the Anthropocene, India is talking about its population, its policy, and its environmental fallout in the same breath. According to the UN Department of the Economic and Social Affairs estimates, India's population will reach a staggering 1.5 billion by 2030 and hit 1.64 billion in 2050. China's population will reach 1.46 billion by 2030. At present, India hosts 16% of the world's population with only 2.45% of the global surface area and 4% of water resources. To make it easier for all of you to realize the seriousness of a number that high, we're talking acres and acres of slums crowded together, sharing the same tin walls, where people dying of diseases is a regular story, where children run half naked in the scorching sun, where people have the same dejected faces, once full of hope, but now reflect the toil that they've done to no fruitful results. I would now like to talk about some facts about overpopulation in India. Indians account for nearly 1/6 of the global population and 1 in 3 people living in global poverty, according to statistics from Yale University. The fertility rate of Indian women has more than halved over the last 40 years due to 2.2 births per woman. Falling fertility rates are important in that they typically correspond with rising life expectancy and quality of life. Around 31% of Indians currently live in urban areas, but that number is projected to climb to near 50%, which is basically 830 million people by 2050. Currently, India is home to 5 megacities, and this number is stated to increase to 7 by 2030. A megacity is a city of more than 10 million people. Delhi is projected to remain the second most populous city in the world in 2030, adding 9.6 million inhabitants in that time. While only 300,000 men agreed to vasectomies in 2008 to 9, more than 5.5 million women agreed to use an intrauterine contraceptive device, UCDs, to avoid pregnancy. These procedures are sponsored by the government to promote population control. The number of married women who regularly use contraceptives has gone up to 13% in 1970 to 48% in 2009. Indians have added almost a decade to their life expectancy in the past 25 years, with average life expectancy up to 69 years. There are many causes for the population explosion in India. First of all, I would like to talk about the male dominant society. The Indian society is essentially male dominant. Women, in order to give birth to a son, keep giving birth until they achieve what they want. In most cases, they give birth to 2 to 3 daughters before they give birth to a son. Child marriage. In several rural areas, young girls, sometimes at the horrifying age of 7 or 8, are sent off to get married. Due to this, they're expected to bear children earlier than normal and also tend to give birth to more children. Poverty. Poverty is also a crucial factor in the ever growing rise in population. Poor families believe that the more children they bear, the more working hands there will be. And more working hands mean more money. For them, it also signifies that there will be plenty of people to take care of them in their old age. Lack of education. Illiteracy still prevails in several parts of the country, as a result of which most people aren't aware of contraceptives and hence add to the problem. Decline in the death mortality rate. After the independence, both the central government and the state government have been providing free medical facilities to those in need. For every 5 kilometers, the government has established primary health centers, PHCs, and by this, people who aren't as financially stable are being provided the necessary medical facilities. Now, I'd like Alan to discuss the impact of overpopulation in India.
Thank you, Shreya. Good morning, everybody, and I am Alan Keshravani, and I'll tell you about the impact of overpopulation in India and what are the solutions. Let's face it, even after 73 years of independence, the scenario of our country is not good, and that is due to overpopulation. Now, what are the impacts of overpopulation in India? Unemployment. Generating employment for a huge population in India, like it is very difficult. The number of illiterate persons increases every year. The unemployment rate is thus showing an increasing trend. School in rural areas are very malfunctioning, does not up to the mark. Manpower utilization. The number of jobless people is on the rise in India due to economic depression and slow business development. Unfortunately, not keeping pace with the growth of population. The result is lack of transportation, communication, housing, education, healthcare, etc. There has been an increase in slums, overcrowded houses, land area, water resources, forests are overexploited. There's also a scarcity of resources. Inequitable income distribution. In the face of an increasing population, there's an unequal distribution of income and inequalities within the country. Now let's see at the steps to control the population. The government of India, politicians, policymakers should initiate a bold population policy so that the economic growth of the country can keep pace with the demands of a growing population. Major steps which have already been implemented are there, but they still need to be emphasized more. Recently, the UP government launched a step towards the control of population, stating that people with over 2 children will not be allowed to do any governmental jobs and will be deprived of any governmental schemes. Increasing the welfare and status of women, spread of education, increasing the awareness of male contraceptives. Also, family planning should be taken into account and pre-sex determination should not be encouraged. Encouraging male sterilization and spacing birth, free distribution of contraceptives among the poor, encouraging female empowerment, and more healthcare centers for the public are a few that can play a major role in controlling the population. India's strength in global world in various fields cannot be ignored, whether in science and technology, medicine and healthcare, business and industry, military, etc. Experts are hopeful that by increasing public awareness and enlisting strict population control norms by the government, it will lead to the country's economic prosperity and control of the population. Now, I would like Sanskriti to throw some light on this topic.
तो क्यों मंदा आंखें जित जम्मे राजन? A woman gave birth to kings and commoners, but some people disdain her in society. Good morning, respected principal sir, Tomer sir and Kalpana ma'am, and my respected teachers. अपमान मत करना नारियों का, इनके बल पर तो जग चलता है, पुरुष जन्म लेकर तो इन्हीं की गोद में पलता है. I repeat, अपमान मत करना नारियों का, इनके बल पर तो जग चलता है, पुरुष जन्म लेकर तो इन्हीं की गोद में पलता है. Empowering women is the process of women empowerment is the process of empowering women. It may be defined in several ways, including accepting women's viewpoint or making an effort to seek them, raising the status of women through education, awareness, literacy, and training. As we all know, India is a sun meta preference society. The Economic Survey has mentioned that the desire for a male child has created 21 million unwanted girls in India between the age of 0 to 25. The survey has found that while an average Indian family prefers to have 2 children, there are instances where family have more than 5 children if the last one is not a male. Daughter is not a tension. She is equal to 10 sons. Empowering women is the most effective way to reduce fertility rates and achieve a sustainable population size that respects the limit of earth carrying capacity. The numbers of years a woman has spent in education is usually inversely correlated with the number of children she will bear in her lifetime. She makes the world bright but still struggles to see the light. Women plays an important role in determination of family size. Employment opportunity enhances women familiar decision-making power and an alternative social and economic role, which may help them to adopt birth control practices, space their children, and limit family size. कोमल है कमजोर नहीं तू, शक्ति का नाम है नारी, जग को जीवन देने वाली, मौत भी तुझसे हारी. I repeat, कोमल है कमजोर नहीं तू, शक्ति का नाम है नारी, जग को जीवन देने वाली, मौत भी तुझसे हारी. Thank you.
I believe that our speaker has already made everyone present here understand how overpopulation is affecting us right now and the consequences we will face in the coming future. But this topic is not something that a certain group of people should understand. It's important, but everyone who belongs to our generation and the coming generations to understand. You might have means it doesn't also matter that you are a science, commerce, or humanities student, but this issue of overpopulation has somewhere affected you in terms of women health, population density, GDP, national economy, etc. As we know, the government had already taken steps to control overpopulation by promoting various slogans such as Hum Do, Hamare Do, and Chota Parivar Sukhi Para. But all we need is the support of our well-educated youth. Every individual has to contribute something to the society. Then why not contribute something that is useful as well as not harmful? Because what we feel is that the future of the planet depends on us, and not just regarding overpopulation, but in each and every way possible. Thank you. Now I request Kalpana ma'am to please address the gathering and share her views on the topic as well as webinar.
First, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first of all, let me congratulate you on one thing, that you all have researched quite well. Whatever data you have put forward, you've researched on that. And it's really heartening to see you people working hard to, get your data, get your, whatever you're speaking. It's not heard from somewhere or something. You've really worked to collect that data. So, because when we speak on something, we must have thorough knowledge about it. All right. And I'm happy that there are two things which you all have spoken very openly. Children your age generally don't talk about contraceptives and other things related to birth control, but you had the courage and the what should I say, the judicious planning of your matter, and you very fearlessly and without any embarrassment, you spoke about certain things which are important and very important for your age group to understand and to know. And very well said that, people have this, what should I say? The right word for it would be this intermittent, desire to have sons. But that you understand, we are all, the entire world, in fact, is a result of patriarchal system. And especially in India and, in parts of Asia, and majority of Asian countries, leaving aside few countries, majority of Asian countries and believe that a male heir is important. And that is why the females numbers increase, and resulting into that, as we turned into a society wherein lives became difficult, we wanted more and more male heirs to take care of our us in our old age and all that old conservative thought processes were there and still are prevalent in so many societies. Within the bigger society, there are small small groups where these thoughts are very, very prevalent. And people, even in today's time, they follow that. But the major thing is that, what we have lost out on, especially Indians, that we didn't know how to really, thoughtfully utilize this manpower in a manner in which we could have taken our country where we should have been. We didn't utilize our resources well. We didn't utilize our manpower well. We didn't utilize anything thoughtfully. And when we kind of woke up from our deep slumber, by that time, it was too late. I mean, we have grown in the 70s, especially 70s and 80s and 90s. These 3 decades were solely given to family planning. Wherever you went, whatever you saw, there was, the government campaigned very, very heavily on this, and there are results. But still, I think as the entire nation, and we have to think about it. And as we were talking about China, do you know that China has also given they have made a change in their policy. People today, if they want to have more than one child, they can. So they have given this, this was very recent, I think last month, they brought in this change. But there are again 2 views about it. Some Chinese people are happy, but some are not, because again, China has changed from communist society to a consumeristic society wherein people have to earn everything on their own and things are quite expensive. So people are resistant to, have more than one child. because it will affect their lifestyle and it will have an effect on their resources. So I think this is something we need to take it very, very seriously. Entire world needs to wake up and basically not, I mean, the countries wherein especially Asian countries and countries in the Middle East also is very strict nowadays. But in Asia, especially the countries where male heirs are, countries of subcontinent, and of course, China, Iran, Iraq, and the Middle East, that part of countries are, that part of planet is dying itself because they are constantly at war with each other for past so many years. So, I mean, think about all these things. As at your age, you should know what is happening, not only in our country, but countries in the world and countries that directly affect us. Whatever happens in America and Europe and all, that affects us in, in the form of economical aspects. But whatever happens in our neighboring countries, those are Asian countries, those which relationships. I mean, whatever is happening there, as young people, you should be thoughtful about that and think of war, hunger, and all these things very, very, passionately and sympathetically also. And as young children, young men and women, I wouldn't say children, you should, because you are, most of you, maybe you could be future, planners, who you could be future officers. And so plan your things, give a direction to your thoughts and actions, which is very important, because whatever we are, if at this age you give this direction to your thoughts and your actions, I'm sure you all will be very sensitive, thinking human beings and responsible citizens. Because ultimately, that's the goal of every human being. We have to be a responsible and thinking human being and a very, very responsible citizen of the planet and the country that we live on. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm not a data person, so I don't write all this data and all. I just speak from the heart, whatever comes to my mind. I just speak about that. So I hope whatever I've said has made some, it has been meaningful for you. That's all I have to say. And thank you so much. And once again, I congratulate all the teachers, all the students first, and then the teachers who assisted them to organize this webinar successfully. Thank you so much. And congratulations to you children, because so many of you I have heard for the first time in last 2 years, right? So hopefully, let's pray that the schools should open and we would have more conversations and interactions like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So here comes the last vote of thanks. Good morning. I offer my warm welcome to all the guests, respected principal sir and teachers, on this beautiful and glorious sunny day. I am really gratified for giving me a chance to deliver vote of thanks speech to such an honorable audience. It was really great time with you all. I am assured that you have also got a lot from this meeting. First of all, I am thankful to Almighty for giving us courage and spirit to arrange this glorified event, even in such hard times. His blessings has turned this event into a grand success. I, Gurit Kaur Anand, on behalf of my team members, pass my warm thanks to all the audience for their significant presence in the meeting. I especially want to thank our respected Principal Sir, Vice Principal Sir, Director Ma'am, Tomar Sir, teachers for your presence today. Being the catalyst that inspired us all to do our best and stand as a pillar of power. With deep sense of appreciation, we thank our teachers, Mr. Mahapatra Sir and Mr. Rohit Sir, for their untiring efforts. I also want to thank people who work behind the scene to execute this event, such as our technical arrangement team, contributors, editors, and our Eco Warrior team. In addition, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the speakers who made this event even happy with their impressive performances. The hard work of your days was evident in your acts. All the speakers were very good and each one of us present here enjoyed it. Once again, I would like to say that we are all most grateful to all the speakers on this forum. This celebration would have not been possible without your efforts. We thank you for being with us this morning. It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Guri, can I request for one thing? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Please don't call me director, ma'am. I don't like that word. Call me Kalpana, ma'am. Right? Please address
Yeah.
me as Kalpana, ma'am. All right.
Okay.
Somehow I get scared with that director, ma'am, kind of a thing. All right.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. So the chat box is open. All your feedbacks and comments about the webinar, you can put on the chat box. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.